Hey, so check it out in all its glory. We've got a nice remote workstation over here. That guy is a computer for Googling things. Whenever you have a problem or say you want to do some random official sign in things, that one right there is the one you do it on. That one right there is my mobile workstation. So just in my personal life, I like this little Chromebook I got. I wiped it, I put Linux on it. I'm not dealing with Chrome OS or Windows. No, I'm taking me some Linux to somewhere I want to work remotely, and that thing weighs like negative 3 pounds. It's awesome. The keyboard's really compact. It's nice to work with. It's good. It has some limitations. I had to learn so much more keyboard functionality because there's a lot of keys missing from that little keyboard, but it made me a much better typer. Um, I learned Vim. Highly recommend. Definitely learn Vim. I'm most definitely a novice. There's so much more for me to learn, and yes, I still regularly Google the little hotkeys you can use. Like, how do you copy paste properly again? Little things like that. But it increases your productivity like crazy. I would highly recommend it. Learn Vim. Um, Over here is a second screen currently plugged into this guy, and I turned it off because my background is a picture of our firstborn when he was a baby, and we don't want to put our kids on social media. So yeah, it's a picture of a cute baby, but you can't see it right now. And then obviously, you need your standing desk, little bottle of water, and lots of pictures that the kids have drawn and colored and whatnot. So anytime I'm working here, I just stare at that because it's awesome. Okay, you see that? That's a dragon, if you couldn't tell. My son drew that. I know. You can be impressed. I know. So, hey, late night Luke. Um, I was just diving into some cloud questions. So I'm trying to take this thing that I've been building and I'm gonna throw it onto AWS and turn it into a website that I can access anywhere. And it'll have an IP address. Ooh, exciting. And nothing public yet. I mean, public in the sense that anyone could find it, but nothing public like here's the IP address. Go check it out. Not yet. Dear God, not yet. It's not nearly ready to share with anyone ever. No, no. So, so I was there looking at architecture for it, and how do you deploy a Django app to Lightsail? Because I'm using Lightsail right now. It's the cheapest option, and I just need to get something out there so I can start iterating with a continuous integration, continuous deployment um, pipeline setup, CI/CD. Every time I update my code, that CI/CD pipeline grabs the code and will throw it out onto the internet, all updated for you. And I need to get that built because that's just the next step. That's what I'm working on. Going to go rehash my knowledge of CI/CD pipelines. Great. Of cloud architecture stuff. Great. Eventually, that'll delve into things like Terraform, maybe Ansible, maybe I don't know. I don't know. So tired and just like scatterbrained. So thank you for sticking around for a second. But I'm diving into Lightsail and trying to figure out how to get Django on there. And they're talking about how in the instance you spin up, you need to install uh, Goonicorn, G Unicorn, G, however you want to pronounce it. Think of it like a web server. It serves web applications to people who ask for them. And same thing with Nginx. They want Nginx on there as a reverse proxy, which does the same thing. In fact, I don't know the difference between Nginx and Goonicorn. Why do you need this G Unicorn thing? What does it do exactly? Is that the WSGI? In which case it's a web server, but isn't that what Nginx is doing? I don't know. I don't know. So clearly, my web my server architecture is rusty. Okay, okay, that's fair. Um, but that's installed there on the instance itself that you just spun up, the Lightsail instance. Not the Nginx, the reverse proxy isn't its own load balancer. A reverse proxy and a load balancer. There's another thing that I realized I'm just rusty on. Right, I was thinking about that earlier today because in my brain I was going through that the corporate wants you to identify the difference in these pictures meme. you know, Load balancer, reverse proxy, and then I'm over there like they're the same picture. It's like I mean, no, not really. Uh, a reverse proxy can perform tasks of load balancing. There you go. It also serves some security purposes, does a few other things. They can exist on layer 7 and layer 4 and do different things. And layer 7 and layer 4, what is that? That's the OSI model. Okay, networking. Wow. So all of this together, just going to Lightsail, just to get a Django app hosted, just to get a cute little website up and running for this thing I've been building for 8 months. Opened up this book of, of topics, of information, of subjects within IT in which knowledge is necessary to have and be able to use in order to do these things. And I realized that I'm rusty on a lot of it, ignorant of a good chunk of it, and I'm uncertain about which parts are even necessary. And it got me thinking about why I'm doing any of this. Why am I up late at night building this stuff? Why am I pushing myself to learn all these skills? Why try to build a company, right? And it comes back to earlier this year thinking of it like a two-pronged approach. One, building this thing is teaching me many, many skills. I've learned so much about Python this year. Holy cannoli. I am much better at data cleaning now. Getting like sourcing data, collecting it in a big blob of broken dataness, and then wrangling it. I believe that's a technical term. Uh, you clean it, make it presentable, get rid of the bad bits, and edit any of the bits you can accurately, and then taking that cleaned data and storing it in a database. Wow, that was a skill journey that I now am very comfortable doing. Awesome. But spending 6 months learning how to do that, then I go back to Lightsail, I go back to AWS, and I'm like, how does cloud architecture actually work? How, what even is networking? That OSI model I just mentioned with layer 7 and 4? Quick, what are the 7 layers of networking? Application and, no, I'm going to have to Google it. Because you, I know that this is just the nature of all skills. You learn it, you use it, even if you're really, really good at it. I'm not saying I'm really, really good at it. I'm just, even if you're really, really good at it, it fades over time. When you're not using it, you don't use it, you lose it. Sure, sure, it's still there. There's still plenty of things I know and can do, and like if you need a VPC run up, like spun up tomorrow, and all the little subnets defined and available in multiple regions, absolutely, I will get that done by the end of tomorrow. It won't be a problem. But if you ask me to do it right now, first, look at me, I'm exhausted. It's late. That's not gonna happen. And second, man, I couldn't spell a subnet if you asked me to like use my own face. Like it's just I would need 30 minutes to get back up to speed. And I've never been good at cider blocks. Holy cannoli. You're like, is that a /14 or a /12? Like, I don't know. That's why cider block calculators exist. Okay? I just know that this network needs 2 users, or this network needs 1,000 users. And when you use when you're developing in a networking space, when you're using your networking skills regularly, it becomes secondhand. You just know these things off the top of your head. But when you don't use it for a while, you're like, I don't even, yeah, you get the point. It's kind of like knowing multiple instruments. You play flute and bongos and trumpet, and you spent the last 6 months learning drums. And then someone's like, quick, you're the esteemed flute player. Get up there and play. And you're like, I'm going to need a second to, yeah. Mm. So I was mentioning a two-pronged approach. The first prong of that I was describing is all these skills that you build. I mentioned getting better at Python. Yeah, yeah. I'm better at Python. Great. And backend whatnots with Django. Backend development. I'm better with that. I understand Django a lot better. Haven't built an API with Django REST framework yet, but it's not a black box anymore. I could. This particular product doesn't need one. I'm actually really proud of the architecture of this product. It's cool because it's all self-contained. There's no writing to the database from any of the users. So it's, I don't know, in my head, I'm like, top notch security. Yeah. But I mean, how will it work with multiple reads? We'll see. We'll see. I will come to that when I need to. So that first prong of the approach is gathering a bunch of skills so that over time I can apply that to my career. You don't just come in here and tinker on a computer and get nothing out of it. You grow as a person. You've gained more skills in the IT realm, and you're more hireable. You're more desirable by employers because, like, oh wow, you have some back end experience. I got this nice little product here in front of me, and it looks like you did that great. And oh, you've done networking in past work, and it involves networking with this thing. And there's cloud stuff going on. You have cloud experience. Awesome, awesome. But today's experience, sitting down to put it on light sail, like how effective is that two-prong approach going? I mean, is it working? Are you actually gaining these skills and retaining the old ones? Are you actually growing? Is this question just like sleep deprived, addled brain doubts? Yes, absolutely. Because of course that knowledge is there. But it's like, can you tie it all together? Can you be a cloud architect? Can you be a back end programmer? Can you be a networking engineer? Can you be, God forbid, a data scientist? Don't be that anymore. That's a dead title, right? You're a machine learning engineer. Yes, yes. Can you be all those things? And what even is that? I come from systems administration, from an operations background. You have to understand systems. You have to understand systems, how they interact with each other, what's going on inside a computer. And then in this specific computer, what is happening and how does it relate to this one over here? How do they talk? And how do all the computers talk in this network on a campus or in the cloud? How does it connect to the cloud? Could it involve a VPN? I wonder. Uh, Operations is very intellectually involved in that you have to understand the individual pieces and how they all interact. So the system in which the pieces exist. It's not very different from programming in that regard. Programming is also very systems minded. But I don't know, it feels different in my head. Programming it's like ultimate creativity in a way because the pieces you're holding in your head are all fabricated based on stakeholder desires or creative desires if you're a solo developer or whatever. And so you understand what you've made and what you need to make, and maybe in the final product, how all those pieces are producing software or a website or what have you. It's similar, but it's also different in a way. The best seniors I've ever worked with tended to come from an operations background who then went into programming. And I'm not knocking programmers, okay? Get off your high horse. And I know I'm biased coming from an operations background. I got you. But only because they understood that when you launch whatever your your program is that you wrote, how it communicates with the outside world. Um, Listening to people who come from a programming background who then get into operations, one of my favorite memories was someone that didn't understand that a server could be reached outside of ping. Uh, I'm not sure if I'm recalling or explaining that correctly. It's like they tried to ping it, a server, and it wouldn't communicate. So they're like, yeah, clearly server's down. And from the operations side of things, my first thought is like, is ICMP activated? Like, if you just turn that off, you just say none of that stuff, then ping's not going to work at all. Ping between servers is basically just like one server says, "Hey, are you there?" and the other server says, "Yes, I'm here," and then they talk back and forth. And ICMP kind of sits on top of the networking stack and listens for those pings. It's actually outside of the OSI model, outside of the layers. So by squashing ICMP, by turning that off, those little talkers aren't there, and on one of the servers, right? So what you'd have to do in that case is use curl, CURL, to reach out to that server, see if it's running, because ping's disabled. But the programmer isn't familiar with that. The operations guy is. Why? Because the operations guy had to dive into networking. Programmers don't give a crap about networking. And these are all generalities, okay? Bear with me. They don't care. They matter that there's no bugs. They care about the no bugs in the code. They care that things are dry. They're not repeating themselves. They care that there's no anti patterns in the code. Because, dear God, if you've ever tried to maintain code that I've written, it's a nightmare. Okay, when you want something programmed correctly, get a programmer. Oh, don't get me to hack together a solution. That's not. I'm a script kiddie in relation to a programmer. It's not like that. Now, is that a good vote for the stuff I'm building? It probably doesn't instill confidence in you using my products, but bear with me. We'll make it work. So I'm thinking about all these different technologies, all these different tools that have to be involved in the making of this thing, all these skills that I'm building or forgetting. And I'm just a little bit nervous. Just a little bit nervous because I have to go back now. I have to reorient myself with things like Terraform. This is a tool for making cloud architecture. Uh, it standardizes it. Imagine a blueprint for a building, right? If you could just click a button and that blueprint would build the building, that's like Terraform for cloud stuff. So you just type in like Terraform build, whee, and now stuff's in your cloud. It's great. It's really cool. Very, very useful. And the opposite works too. Terraform kill, and your whole infrastructure just you got fired. Congratulations. Uh, so I need to go back and reorient myself with this because I've got some old YAML scripts that work. How did I how did I instantiate those? Like how did I set that up exactly with that particular cloud role? With the permissions that Terraform um, agent has. You can't just type like Terraform build and something will happen. You have to authenticate your, I'm trying to think of the right word, your terminal that is using Terraform. You have to give it permission to work in the cloud that you're trying to build stuff in, right? Did I leave those keys anywhere? Dear God, did I upload them to GitHub? That'd be really bad. Uh, I don't think I did that. I'm pretty sure. but like, there's a lot of little nuances with just this one tool to make things work. Sure. How long will that take to reorient myself with that? 6 hours? 2 days? A week? I don't know. We'll see. Do I even need that? Do I need Terraform right now? Because right now, I'm kind of just manually throwing something up on the light sail. And like I said, chose that lowest cost, easy to project what my costs will be. I don't necessarily want to get an EC2 or 3 out there. An EC2 instance is just a computer on the cloud. Just think of it like that. So you would need that and a load balancer, maybe run in another EC2 because I've heard that that's cheaper than using elastic load balancing with Amazon. And you got to think about these things too. All these cloud things I'm mentioning, that's another skill that goes into cloud engineering, right? You have to think about project management as far as costs are concerned. Why use this tool rather than this tool? Maybe traffic is a concern. You have to be able to scale. Okay. For me right now with this particular project, it's just all about cost. I just need to get it hosted and not spend an arm and a leg because I'm refining the product before I ship it, before I start marketing, before any of that. There's no income for it right now. So it's just an added cost to my life. So keep that cost low. All right. So is that first prong of things working? Is it worth it? Is 8 months into this, because it's September now. So there's been 8 months of you building this thing. Is that skill builder part of the project actually paying off? Whew, and that's a tough question to answer because if you haven't been able to tell in 20 minutes of video, there's a lot of different sectors of IT, a lot of computer skills involved, excuse me, in making any website or program work. Everything from networking to computer architecture to cloud stuff, everything I've mentioned in this video is just small little subsects of things that you need to know to make stuff work. It's a lot. It's a lot. If you were to master all of it, you'd be dead before you could figure it out. I mean, I'm being hyperbolic, but it would take way too much time. And I adore the idea of being that unicorn employee. Like, you'll do it, you can figure it out. But the double edged sword of that is that you don't have enough time to master all these things. And just knowing, like dabbling in each of them, doesn't bring you to a level of mastery in which people will hire you, right? So, like, oh, you're familiar with AWS, Amazon Web Services. I'm sorry if I didn't say that already. You're familiar with it. Awesome. Are you like a cloud architect or a cloud engineer? Like, are you Cloud Master Luke? Because if not, I mean, maybe you could get a junior cloud role. Maybe, maybe. What about all this networking stuff you've been talking about? Are you a networking engineer? Sorry, it's late. I promise I'll finish up soon. Are you a networking engineer? No, not even close. Can I do networking? Absolutely. Is it fun? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's pretty fun. I like it. I think it's neat. I think it's really neat to get computers to talk to each other and how all that works. It's just from your browser to a DNS server to a reverse proxy to the different web servers that might be load balancing for. Like there's more in betweens for all these things that make all those things possible as well. It's very fascinating, but I'm not a networking engineer. I just know it good enough. I know it good enough. And okay, so maybe you're a back end engineer, right? You said you're working with Django, so you're like a back end programmer, right? Not really. Not really. I can do it. I've made APIs in Java and in Java. So I made an API in Java. Well, backend engineering includes the development of APIs quite a bit. So you might want to expand that a little bit. Can you manage things like server security? Yes, actually. Yes, I can do that. Can you uh, package things to be deployed onto a web server? Yes, I'm very familiar with Docker. But again, it's like the VPC thing I was saying earlier. You need me to do it right now? By the end of the day tomorrow, I'll have as many Docker containers as you want. Oh my goodness, I'll write Docker files up, down, left, right, all around town. It'll be great. But this very second, I'm gonna need like 30 minutes to just like reorient myself with all these things. And with Django, you're probably gonna want to do some pip freezes, in your virtual environment so that you can make a requirements.txt because those containers, once you move them onto a web server, you're gonna want to install all the dependencies for your program to run. Like, but am I? I don't even know. Is that an engineer? A Docker engineer? Is that a thing? Container engineer? I don't think so. Maybe. I think they call them programmers. Uh, and then what about orchestration? What about when you want to manage all the different pieces running together? To make sure uptime is 100%, make sure scaling works well. I'm thinking specifically of Kubernetes right now. I'm not scared of Kubernetes. I like it. It's like the networking thing. It's just fascinating. It's like a giant octopus, right? It's got its tentacles on everything. It's making sure everything's working. And if something fails, pop out another server. It's wonderful for orchestrating how your ecosystem is running. But dear God, I'm nowhere near a K8's engineer. K8's Kubernetes. It's nowhere near it. No, not even close. I've heard that certification is insane too. I don't know if I'll ever get that. I'm a little disillusioned with certifications, but who knows? Could help me in this position, right? Mm. So I look at all those different just examples of skills that I have exposure to that I'm not an expert in, not even kind of, but I'm very comfortable with. Great. We don't hire comfort engineers. So I don't know. It's created a little bit of doubt in my head, a little bit of worry. Because then I think, well, what would you lean into? What would you then dive in and become just the master of? What would you get your grips on and just own it? Get certified, get amazinglevel.com. You are the blank engineer. What is it? Oh man, I don't know. It's definitely not front end engineer, that's for sure. I, no hate for front end engineers. One of my best coworker friends who I've ever worked with is a front end engineer, and what they do is magic. Okay, and that includes UI and UX. And yes, I know they're different. Uh, I just don't design websites. It does not like where should the placement of this thing be that's ideal for you, for the customer? I don't know. Are the edges rounded or are they square? I don't know. Your top bar, with like links and stuff. Do you want all links just in the top? Or do you want them to have like drop down menus where it's like a word with the little arrow thing and you hover over it and the arrow rotates down and all the options come down? Or is it a hamburger menu, maybe? You click it and all your options come down. Or maybe it's not on the top at all. Maybe just on the side. You have like a sidebar for navigation. Is that how you want to design it? I have no idea. I suck at this. I'm like I end up designing things that I just find useful. Like what would I find useful in a site and pleasant to use? That's kind of intuitive. Uh, that's as far as I got. And then like, oh, maybe we should add some color to it, or what kind of color schemes, or in a tabular view, are there borders here? I mean, are the borders colored? Do they have shadows? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a front end engineer. I don't know how to make this appealing at all to user experience or to the eye to make it look good. I don't get it. So it's not that. But God bless you all, front end engineers. Thank you so much for existing. For people like me. I don't think I'm a back end engineer. I don't know. Do I want to make APIs my whole life? Maybe. Maybe. My code is nowhere near clean enough. I would love to improve that. I like improving that. But sometimes you're dealing with different data that is hard to parse. It's not easy to pull apart and transport that data in such a way that loss is minimized, that there's no inaccuracies. Oh man, one thing that really bugged me with backend engineering was in Java. The I was using Spring Boot, and there were many layers of abstraction. I mean, great abstract thought is awesome, but like implementations were everywhere, and just trying to like fumble my way through the dark and figure that out. I guess I just had a bad experience. Maybe having a mentor would have helped, but it's like, why do we need so many layers of abstraction just to get to the functionality of the code? I didn't get it. Is it a security thing? I don't know. I don't know. Something I'll have to learn one day, I guess. But I don't know. It doesn't appeal to me to be the back end engineer. Um, I think it's the ops side of my brain coming from operations. What's way more interesting is like the cloud architecture side of things. So with this different the program that the team's putting out, do you want a level 4 or a level 7 proxy to then distribute traffic to the different web servers that are set up? What are the benefits of either? Do you need both? That is way more interesting to me than the back end itself. Developing an internal development platform for the different developers is way more interesting to me. Um, just so that when they are doing their work, their code is available to them for viewing as it gets updated. That it's just cool. It's cool. You're like a solutions engineer, you know? And oh, my generation has been horrible at this. Just adding titles to things all the time. Like we need a new term for this, or a new definition, or a new title. So sorry for that. Uh, from one millennial to the world. Uh, I'm guessing after this long-winded rant that I probably lean more towards the cloud engineering side of things, towards DevOps, towards more operations, woo, tooling. Uh, and part of that is really cool. Another part of me is like, I had so much fun in the last 6 months cleaning data. That was awesome. It was hard. When is it okay to substitute a zero for a null? When is it better to like match values in the same field in a column? So do like a backfill kind of thing. When is it okay to instead of a backfill? When should you use linear regression? Or when is it okay to just leave it null? Sometimes that was just cool. Figure out like what would be the most relevant solution to this data set, and then manipulating that into something that was digestible for people. For myself, right? But for people overall, dang cool. So I think prong one is working, but it's just too early to really tell. First of all, pretty secure in my current employment. Like I don't think it's going anywhere. I'm performing well. Don't really want to leave yet. So that's cool. Um, we always want more money, right? If there's a pay opportunity for increase, I mean, we'll see. But right now, I don't need to make a decision. So just keep building the thing, refresh all that lost knowledge, see where life takes me. It'll be good. Um, and let me know down below, my God, if you made it to 34 minutes. Certifications. I mean, is there any reason to get them ever? I, I just, I might be the prime candidate because I'm early to mid career in that range, and I need some definition to my capabilities. It's like validation to show that I know a skill. Totally. That's a great argument for certification. Absolutely. However, uh, the certification is great for like rote memorization and for understanding something on a theoretical level. Sure, yeah, but can you actually use the tool? Can you do the thing? I despise the academic realm where it's like, this is the theory. This is how it should work. Look at all these cool number crunchings. And I love math. Don't get me wrong there. I just mean theory and practice can be very different. And you can have 1,000 certifications, but can you actually spin up an EC2 and build me a CI/CD pipeline and deploy that piece of crap on Fargate already? Like, I know I'm just like saying things right now, but can you actually do something? I feel like that should go further along than a cert. So I'm like, I'm just gonna build stuff and I'll let my work speak for me because otherwise I could spend $350 and fail a test and like spend 3 months studying before that. That sounds horrible. So let me know. I mean, is there? Should I just suck it up? Just like go get cloud certified? Is that what I should do? I don't know. The second prong to this whole thing, 36 minutes in, God bless you for sticking around, uh, is that you're building a product that people might like. The refining of the product, making it something that people actually want to spend money for, that people find value in. It brings value to their lives. They trade you dollars and get the premium service of it in whatever capacity. Maybe it's a paywall, maybe it's a freemium model, maybe I don't know yet. I'll figure it out. That's what I'm saying. The refining will come. In the meantime, you are building a thing that is useful to lots of people because it's based around finance. That's what I'm building. It's a finance thing. I'll tell you details later. It's way too raw to just be like, this is what it does. Like, okay, cool. Can we go visit it? No. Like, hold your horses. We'll get there. And the way that you can market something in finance, it's infinite potential. You want to market to a retail trader? You can. How about to people who are just complete noobs and have no idea what they're doing? You could do that. You want to market it specifically to dads? Hey, turns out I'm a dad. I could do that pretty well. Do you want to do that in the form of the data that you have or in the website itself? Or do you want to offer courses? Do you want to offer some kind of like reading material? I mean, it's endless. I'm not worried about market fit. I'm not worried about if the product will sell. I'm not worried about that at all. I honestly, what I worry about is making it appealing to people because that front end thing we were talking about. Like, I make the site and I go, what would I want to see when I go here? What is useful to me? What am I going to other sites for? And how do I import it to this? Not necessarily steal from them, but and not just copy what they're doing on my site, but what am I looking for when I'm analyzing a security? That. I want that. And so I make it ultimately useful for myself. And then the packaging of that, I mean that's just a work in progress. Making that appealing to others is a work in progress. And Godspeed, because it's not about you, it's about the consumer. Name that movie. Right? So that second prong is you're actually building something that could be a business. You're building something that could work out, and I'm optimistic about that. And you don't need to be employed by other people. You scaled this kind of thing. You're self-employed. You support yourself, and you don't need a job. And it doesn't matter if this thing only makes $1 and then just catches on fire. That's great. That's proof of concept. That's proof that you can actually do the thing. Then I'll go make a site about puppy dogs or something. Like, we'll figure it out. But and it doesn't have to bring in life-changing money. Let's put it that way. If it replaces the income from my job and I quit tomorrow, It could bring in $200 a year. That's helpful. Then go make the next thing. You got a lot of code that's reusable. You got a lot of experience with cloud stuff and deployment and whatnot. It doesn't need to necessarily be a data-driven site like this one. You see what I mean? You can just buy domains and like spit stuff out. Don't be like a content machine or something. And no offense, I think that's a YouTube channel, and I've seen some of your shorts, and you're hilarious. But but like real valuable products for people, not not in the realm of shampoo, and not in the sense of putting $1 on everything, but stuff people find value in. You'll find a way to make multiple of those. That's what this is. It's a learning opportunity. And if it takes off and it supports my family, awesome. And if it doesn't, I'm learning a lot about how to make more of those. Cool. I feel a lot more confident about the second prong than I do the first one. And it is what it is. So we'll see. We'll see. I gotta study. I gotta relearn all these things and get this actually deployed and figure out like why are there two web servers and a Django app on Lightsail? What is that? What is that? So thanks for sticking around with me. I'm gonna go take a shower and pass out. I hope you have a great day tomorrow, because I'm gonna have a great day tomorrow, and I'll put out a new video that's a little more interesting. But good luck in your learning journey, and have sweet dreams. Night.